Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Over 400 audios for you to check out on a variety of coaching and psychological and emotionally related topics. If you are looking for help with, in this particular audio, we're talking about narcissistic tendencies in friends, but it can apply to partners and family members as well. And you're looking for narcissism recovery, I do work with people dealing with that issue on a regular basis in my coaching practice. Also, life, relationship, and business and entertainment coaching related stuff available. If you're interested, please go to my website. It's in the About Me section here on YouTube, or you can go on Twitter at PO Perception and get in touch with me there. So we're going to run through some signs that you may have a narcissistic friend. Narcissism is, at the end of the day, a symbol of or series of behaviors which ultimately are characterized by making the world revolve around the other person, meaning themselves. So the first thing is a person has a distorted view of themselves, and they will lie about their own importance. They almost have delusions, sometimes of grandiose nature, their own importance. They will accentuate themselves and put others down in the process. There's always an exaggeration, or almost always an exaggeration, to their language. They will exaggerate their importance of things they've done, things they're going to do, the impact they're going to have. So it's always kind of bloated. The next is the ego of the ability to have the impact. In other words, if I was given this opportunity, I would change the world. If I was given this opportunity, I would, be on American Idol and win with no practice. So a lot of times what happens is the bloated ego comes from insecurity. And understand, the narcissist at the core is an individual who did not get the formulation of secure attachment in earlier childhood, and so they've learned to accentuate their own importance as a shield against more emotional hurt, more emotional separation, and also to kind of block off the insecurity they feel about not feeling important. So it's a coping mechanism that then becomes a pathology, which ultimately leads to separation from healthy relationships and often a preoccupation with control of image more than anything else, and that's a key sign. The next is they're always looking for praise and validation. They may even set conversations up in such a way where if you don't praise them, you look like the jerk, you look like the unsupportive person. The spinning and gaslighting of the conversation towards, hey, didn't I do a really good job there? Aren't I the best in the world at this? Aren't I, going to be the biggest star? Can't I do everything that no one else can do? And what they're looking for is the validation of their inflated value. There's two reasons to this. Number one, a person who is narcissistic and delusional believes in the things they're claiming, or a person who's narcissistic and manipulative but maybe not delusional, in other words, they're grounded in reality, might be actually testing to see how much you buy their lie, to see what leverage they have over you. Now, the sense of entitlement is another big thing for a narcissistic individual. These individuals are always going to turn the worst situations into hyper-victimization. So hyper-victimization can be defined as, I am a victim and nothing good ever happens to me and everything bad always happens to me, and I can never catch a break, and I deserve to not have to go through this. I'm better than, and here's a link to the next thing in the line actually, I'm better than you, I'm better than everyone, I am above all of this, and thus I'm entitled to not have to go through what most human beings, what most other people do, and anyone who doesn't see that is a fool, they're unintelligent. These individuals will manipulate situations, they'll manipulate conversations, they'll manipulate people to get money, attention, time, effort, energy, and sometimes if a person has a sociopathic or psychopathic tendency too, they'll manipulate just because they're bored. And so what happens is they just do it almost like a quasi-science experiment just to see what effect would this have if I did this or this or said this or that. And it almost becomes a habit to kind of look at that. The last thing is they will bully or intimidate through manipulation. So, making a person feel guilty and learning about their weaknesses, and then accentuating those weaknesses while never really acknowledging the strengths of the other person unless there's a direct benefit to doing so. So they will acknowledge the strengths of another person if they are seen as an individual who gets credit through doing that, who gets validation through doing that, who ultimately gets some level of strength or encouragement or whatever through doing that. And it can be extremely frustrating, especially if you believed for an extended period of time. I remember years ago there was a person that I worked with probably over a decade ago now who had a best friend for several years that they turned into a romantic partner, who then later had made up an entire career that they never had, and it took years for that to be found out. From beginning to end, the relationship lasted more than a decade, and it took years for this person to figure out that they had been duped all along, and then it took years for them to go through their recovery. And so it's just important to realize that anyone can fall a victim. Now, there's psychological research that says 1 to 2% is a textbook DSM version of narcissism in society, but that up to 18 to 20% show tendencies without having the full disorder. So still, 1 in 100, 2 in 100 people, that's not a big deal. But if we look at tendencies and it's 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 5 people have the tendency or the proclivity towards it, that's a lot more scary. And it means that we may have run across such a person more than we think. Anyway, hopefully this is helpful. I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.